Welcome back to Sorry We're Booked. I'm Lainey.
I'm Jessica, and today we're going to talk about a topic near and dear to our hearts and our therapist's hearts. Morally gray men. Why we love them.
And why they don't work in the real world.
No, gosh, no.
But
no.
they work in the literary world, and that's
Yes.
all that matters.
Exactly. I would preface this to say what I'm about to talk about has nothing to do with my real life. If one of these men ever approached me in real life, I would be terrified. I would not be in love with them.
Kick them in the groin.
Yes, run away.
Yep.
Think of like Miss Congeniality. All the
Hoya!
yeah, the solar plexus.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always remember her going, nose, groin. I'm like, yes, that's what I would do in real life. Self-defense, preservation. However, in the literary world, I'm here for them. I'll eat them up. I will read any book with a morally gray character. I have a sticker on the back of my Kindle that says my favorite color is morally gray. And again, we've talked about this before. If you've ever met our husbands, the complete opposite. Our little golden retrievers.
The love of our lives. They're perfect.
Exactly. Like if Jason ever talked to me, I tell them this all the time. If he ever talked to me like one of these men, I'm like,
it would not be pretty.
No, we'd have problems. So, of course, let's dive into why we love them so much in our books.
The safe space where you can close it if you feel uncomfortable.
Yes. I am worried collectively. Like as I'm going through my morally gray men, I'm like, ooh, they're getting grayer and grayer, black.
Almost
and I'm like,
black.
okay, all right. However, again, like it's funny because I don't know if this is something I would have really loved prior to like Instagram, book Instagram and book talk, or if I would have loved it regardless. I mean, there's books from decades ago that had morally gray. I think it's a concept that everyone's kind of curious about.
Yeah.
Of like, well, where is the line?
Right. And playing with it.
Exactly. Like we said, in real life, I mean, there have been, it's like vigilante justice. Yep. It's like, oh, is that okay? When is it wrong? So, and of course we brought examples of who our favorite morally gray characters are. So, without further ado, let's dive in.
I think the whole like reasoning behind why we like them so much is like the complexity of it. You know, like you and I feel like are people that like to like fix people maybe, or like we like to understand people maybe. And so when it comes to these fictional characters that are morally gray, well, we're like, well, why? What happened to them? Well, how can we make them better? And it's the whole he would burn the world down for her. He would kill everybody for her. He would that sort of thing. So I have a couple. They're all romantasy, which is funny because I feel like you can't write a fictional, plain Jane, morally gray man without some danger element to it. So of course we have the ultimate Rhysand, the first one that we knew and loved and read about. Yeah. And spoiler if you haven't read ACOTAR, but the whole first book, he's very much the enemy. And and that's what Sarah J. Maas does so well is like, I did not have a inkling of, he's going to be the next love interest. Like, it was full on Tamlin at the time. That was going to be who she was going to be with. And then the second book hits and you're like, oh snap. Yeah. This bad guy is actually pretty cool and we're going to feel him out. And he ends up being, Feyre's love interest. Yeah. So he's like of the Night Court, that's the darker, what people think is evil, but it's actually super beautiful. That sort of thing. So he's like my number one when I always think about it.
Of course.
I know.
I love it.
You can't not.
So because of course both of ours are going to have a lot of romantasy. So I did try to get some of the more like dark romance is becoming very popular, I feel like, in the last year or two. Yeah. I've heard so many books out there. A lot of them are romantasy, but I do have two that are just straight up dark romance. The first one it's actually 3 different morally gray characters because it's a trilogy. I've talked about it before. It's called the Ruinous Love Trilogy, and these are the Kane brothers. You have the first book is about Rowan Kane, second is about Lachlan Kane, and third is about Fionn Kane. Essentially, they all 3 of them end up being serial killers. And it's in the plot of the book. Like the first book, Butcher and Blackbird, is about a serial killer guy falling in love with a serial killer girl, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet, it's so romantic. Love at first slice.
They're meant to be
of someone else.
Did you just make that up?
I did. Love at first slice.
Get you a contract. That was amazing.
Trademarked. No, just kidding.
Trademark it now.
Yeah, but no, seriously. I mean, it's like,
that's so good.
I know. Thank you. But the first, like, it was the first book I read that the trigger warnings were just as funny as I think the book itself. It was very, it was dark humor, and they process things with dark humor. And I think, one thing about, our husbands is, and I don't know about this if it's for Michael, but they're firefighters, so they see a lot of interesting things. And I'll say my husband, who is, like I said, the sweetest man on earth, when sometimes how he processes things is with dark humor. Yeah. And I remember when we were first dating, I was like, oh, that's dark. I don't like that. Now I'm like, I get it. Yeah. I get it. You're just tortured.
You just have to cope.
It's how you cope. And so for me, these guys like Roe and Kane, it's how they process, trauma, past trauma. That's how they process things. It's not okay. I'm never going to actually love a serial killer. I'm not going to ever fall in love with Ted Bundy. Like, it's wrong. But in these books, all the people who died deserve it. I don't know how you say that. Like, that's I think that's the part of what draws us to Morally Gray is like,
you see the intent behind it.
They're not killing these innocent women for their sick pleasure like Ted Bundy was. They are killing people who are predators, people that are truly, I mean, the scum of the earth. That's who they're going after. And you're like, oh, that's so sweet. And it's weird because like
making the world a better place.
Yeah, like, oh, how thoughtful,
ridding evil.
It's weird. But also, I think one of the things that draws me to Morally Gray men, you kind of touched on it, is it's the absolute extreme side of love. I mean, and like, again, this is not okay. It's not healthy, but it's the touch her and die vibes that I'm always here for, of like,
we love
he
a
loves
protective
her so
man.
Much. Love it. Like, they're always strong. They're always muscularly built.
Yep.
They always are protective. I mean, the ultimate guardian. They're constantly like protecting the one that they love, and you're just like, oh, I love that. So all of these three become serial killers in their own right. Like, one, does it kind of secretively and is getting away with it, and no one knows who he is, and he still has like a full-time job. The other one is like part of kind of a mafia, and the other one is a doctor that took the code of ethics or but then eventually becomes the serial killer for the person he loves. Like, it's very sweet.
Makes sense.
It does. So these were my first serial killer characters that I was like,
that's Morally Gray.
Oh
yeah.
That's like,
once you start killing people, it's like, okay,
yeah, I get it. It's not someone that's just like kind of cruel emotionally, but is like really hiding how much, maybe it all started with like us being told as little girls, like, oh, if he pulls your hair or throws sand at you, it's because he has a crush on you. I'm like, maybe that's what's all wrong with us, is we got bad advice.
Yeah.
As children.
That makes a lot of sense.
You always heard that.
Yes.
Like, Mom, he's pulling my hair. Like, oh, he likes you. I'm like,
yeah, no, he's a bully.
He's a bully.
Yeah.
Like, my kid had a little crush, and he was like, I drew a picture for her. I'm like, oh.
That's
so we got wrong. We got bad advice as kids. So maybe that's what it is. But the Ruinous Love trilogy, the Kane brothers, that is very much a line in the sand of like, okay.
The next one I got is a book I haven't really ever talked about on here, is The Games the Gods Play.
Oh, okay.
It's a Greek mythology retelling, kind of combined with like a battle Hunger Games-esque storyline, but the main love interest is Hades. So it doesn't get much more morally gray than that. One who tortures people in hell. But of course he's got a tortured past, and you understand why he became Hades and why he hates, you end up hating Zeus at the end, of course, because he's the one who's so pompous up in his Olympia and Hades is down below. But essentially it's this mortal, I almost said moral, but mortal girl who gets chosen to play in these games with all the gods, and Hades is like her sponsor. And so Hades has never sponsored someone before, and of course he starts to fall in love and all the things, but I mean, he's Hades, and so he kills people, he tortures people, all the things, and somehow it's okay. Yeah. Because he's beautiful and he loves her, and he does it for her. For the right reason.
So thoughtful.
Yep. And Zeus is evil.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Hades, because I have read way back in the day, I think it's actually become a published graphic novel, but it started off as like a graphic novel series on, I cannot remember the site I found it on. I want to say I found it through Reddit. It's called Olympus, I think.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Because you might have seen it in Barnes & Noble, because I think it became a published graphic novel. It's thick because she was, the author would release a story every week, and you would get a new graphic, and it was really good. And it was about Hades falling in love with Persephone. And you always see it in the graphic novels because he's kind of painted as blue and she's pink, and the graphics in it are stunning. But of course, he's the leader of the underworld. I forgot what Persephone is a Greek god for, maybe beauty or purity or something like that. It is not for children. When I say graphic novel, this was one that I got roped into it, and then halfway through I'm like, oh, this is okay. Yeah, okay. But it reminded me of that story of it started there and I've always loved Greek mythology of them being like that. So it's funny you said Hades in your book, because I've read one with Hades as Immortally Great as well. I'll go ahead and tie in my romantasy one as well. I have oh my gosh. Okay, so from the series Once Upon a Broken Heart. Yes. Yeah, we talked about that one before. It's kind of a spin-off series of the Caraval series. I didn't love the Caraval series, but I loved Once Upon a Broken Heart. And the main character is Jax, and he's the King of Hearts, and he's cursed. He's one of those that he's cursed to always yearn for his true love. But anytime he kisses someone, if it's not their true love, they'll die. And so the curse, though, is that anytime he is remotely attracted to someone, he feels this pull to lure them in and want to kiss him, and it's an overwhelming urge that he's ended up killing multiple people because of it. And so anyways, he runs into this girl. I forget the whole premise of it, where of course he's attracted to her, and he manipulates her into she's trying to get out of a situation, and since he is they call it fates. He is a fate. They're like, oh, okay, well, I can help you out, but you owe me 3 kisses, and not necessarily to him, which we come to find out, but still he manipulated her. They kind of describe him in the book as I think you looked into it, an egomaniac, kind narcissistic, very full of himself, because he is kind of like a god in his own right in that series. I don't know. I just remembered really liking. I know you said, what'd you say? You liked the story, but not as much him. He wasn't as memorable. What I remember when I was reading the series, I was like, oh, he's he
was very clever and crafty. I remember that.
Yes. He was more of he was not like some of these other ones. He was not brute force, touch her and die vibes. He was cunning and manipulative, and I would define that definitely as, ooh, that one's just
what's his intentions?
What's his intentions? And you come to find out, I don't know. It just was the first time I found someone I would never ever give anyone the time of day if they were manipulative. But the way he went about it, I was like, okay,
it's kind of cute.
It's kind of cute, I guess. It's for your true love. And the only way a girl could survive is if she could never fall in love with him. So he's constantly pushing her away so she wouldn't fall. It was sweet, but that's my romantasy.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I liked it. And that one was more of YA. So it wasn't the
gory.
It wasn't gory. It wasn't spice. It wasn't that kind of toxic man. It was just more emotionally manipulative that I was like, I don't know if I like this. And then by the end I was like, okay, I do. All right, I'll read the other 2 books.
I'm hooked.
I'm hooked. Yeah, so that was mine.
Oh man, I have another classic. I'm basic. What can I say? Xaden.
Xaden.
Xaden reminds me a lot of Damon from the Vampire Diaries.
Okay.
I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just the dark, broody type, but same similarities where it's kind of like Rhysand, touch her and die. I mean, he literally turns Venin, the most evil thing you can be in that whole series, to say Violet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ultimate morally gray. And then, I mean, spoiler if you haven't read Onyx Storm, but we've already done a review on it. And then proceeds to wed her, give her his soul/kingdom, and then peace out, bounce. I'm going to go be bad, and you can save yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't think it gets more morally gray than that.
Yeah. You know, I will say one thing that I really love about both Rhysand and Xaden is while they are the overprotective, they love, I mean, deeply and would do anything. They also, something that's unique about them is they very much have a high regard for the women that they're in love with, to where they don't feel like they have to protect her. They're like, she's a capable woman.
Yeah.
Like
There's so much respect.
They have so much respect. It's one of those things like in ACOTAR with, oh my gosh, what's her name? Feyre. It was something like one of the guys was like, she was like, oh, if I were to marry you, would I be like the queen of this night court or queen of the court? And they're like, no, that doesn't exist. And then he was like, absolutely, you're already in my...
You're the high lady of the night court.
The high lady, and everyone's like, that's never happened. He's like,
Bow
it's
down.
happening with her. Yeah. He was like, you should fear her more than me. I think that's one thing that attracted me to them is, and I've talked about with this with a friend.
That's so true.
Well, I've talked to a friend with like one of the things why she doesn't like romantasy or rom-coms or anything like that is she's like, I just get tired of weak women.
Yeah.
Like, why is it that women can't be capable? And I think what I love about these two is even though they have weaknesses, like they are mortal or they're brittle boned or something, these men still find ways to elevate them and say, no, they are capable women. I love them for that. I'm going to go actually with the one I am currently reading.
From Lights Out?
Yes. So Josh Hammond from Lights Out. This is I mean, again, I would never love a stalker, y'all. Words I never thought I'd say. But he does it because he cares.
I almost want to read this now just to see what you're talking about.
It's weird. Well, okay, so like the premise is this girl is, all these different things on the For You page. They're just weird and people kind of go into those deep holes. Like one of the day I was looking at something on TikTok and the next thing it was making fun of this page. I think it's called like the donut guy or something. He's the guy that makes like really yummy and delicious high-end food, but he makes it very sexualized. Like he's like,
oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Where he's cutting the chicken and the olive oil.
He gets like the dough and he like smacks the dough and you're like, it's bread, sir. Like, what are you doing? Anyways, you know, people are like, but he's got millions of followers. Well, that's kind of like this one on Lights Out. He is on this girl's For You page and he does like thirst traps, which thirst traps are just like, yeah. And so, but he does it with like a mask on. And so he's giving in to like the women that are all about like the mysterious guy, like I wonder what he looks like, and oh, he can come and break into my house any day, and things like that. Like it's women that are groveling at this thirst trap of a guy that kind of gives axe murderer vibes, but they're like, at least he's hot, and you're like, okay. And so that's kind of the premise, is that at one day the girl gets a little drunk and like kind of slides into the DMs of happens to be his best friend. Anyways, he gets connected with her and we come to find out he's got some stalker tendencies. He just happens to be a world-class hacker and like hacks into her cameras, not in her bedroom. That's wrong. There is a line. Actually, he does in the book. He's like, I got to find a line somewhere. I guess that's it. I'm like, good for you. It's so sweet. Bravo, sir. But she's also a trauma nurse, and so like he'll hack into like her security cameras at work, and like there's one scenario where she has to interact with an actual bad guy, like a very,
and he shows up just so happened to defend her.
No, well, what he does though is, so you could tell there's just something off with this guy. Well, he ends up being like a rapist, but he's very wealthy, so he's being able to get out of it a lot. Well, she has to treat him because he got beat up by one of his victims' siblings. And this is how sweet the stalker is. Josh, he is watching her on the security cameras, and he notices that the guy seems a little bit off. And so he like digs into his files and his police records and like calls the hospital to try to get a hold of her to be like, I don't think you should treat him. Let someone else. I'm just trying to protect you. I'm like, that's so thoughtful. He's just watching security camera. Eating
just
popcorn, be like, hey, babe.
Just Big Brother.
I'm like, why doesn't Jason just want to know what I'm doing at all times? Like,
you want to know something really creepy?
What?
So at our house, I'm about to just share something. I hope Michael's okay with this. And we have like security cameras around our house, and so Michael will see me in the backyard and just watch me when he's on shift, just to make sure I'm okay.
It's so thoughtful.
It's so thoughtful. He's just checking in on me, and so anyway, sometimes he'll like speak on it because it scares the living daylights out of me because I'm like, oh, the rapture's happening. You know, God's coming for me.
I think of Dory.
Yeah.
Hello? Are you there? Is this my conscience?
So maybe we do have our equivalents to that.
We do. I mean, we do that we have so many cameras, because we live out in the country.
And when they're on shift, you miss each other.
Yeah,
so
and you're like,
what are they doing?
Who is that? We're like, it's someone from Facebook. What are they doing?
Yeah.
No, it's sweet. But this guy is, I mean, but
I've got to read this book now.
It's so bad though. I don't know if you should. But I wanted to because it's all over book talk. And so anyways, I mean, it ends up being very thoughtful of why he's a stalker.
If there's such a thing.
And they tell you in like the immediate first chapter, like he is the son of a serial killer. And so he's constantly worried about like, did he inherit those genes and stuff like that? But the reason he's a stalker is because, whenever his dad was committing those crimes and stuff like that, his dad wanted to know at all times where him and his mother were. Whenever they left him finally before he got caught, he was just trying to protect his mom from like media inquiries and stuff like that. So that's why he became a hacker. Is like he wanted to erase their identities and whatever. I'm like, that's love. But still, I mean. And I will say what I love about it is the main character, the female main character, she knows she's messed up for being attracted to that. And that's why I like this book, because I feel like she says the things that we all say of like, I shouldn't like this, but I do. Yeah. Except theirs gets like weird. I mean, it is very raunchy. So I'm going to say it gets weird, but the stalker part of it and like the whole masked like secret identity thing, I'm like, okay.
Morally gray.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's weird.
Well, this is going to look pale in comparison.
I think Jason's going to comment on this. He's like, that's not morally gray. That's just wrong. I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't know.
Oh gosh, the next one I have is another romantasy. This is so just on brand for me, but it's Kai from the Powerless series.
Oh, I love him.
Who, if you've read the Powerless series, you'll know that there's two brothers. There's Kai and there's Kit, and they both are sons of the king. Kit is the upcoming heir. He's the prince who's going to take over the kingdom when the king dies. But Kai, on the other hand, is what they call the enforcer. And so essentially whatever the dirty work the king or Kit want him to do, he's got to go and like brutally murder a bunch of people. He's got to go and like beat up a bunch of people. So he's just kind of the bad guy all throughout. And he's got all this conflict with it because, half the time he doesn't even know what these people did wrong and why he's killing them, but sometimes he does. And anyways, he ends up falling in love with the main character, Payton. And it's their whole storyline. But gosh, I feel like that's just like nothing compared to stalking.
Because I'm messed up. Again, I read this book and I'm like, gosh, I need therapy. Like, what is wrong? But then again, at the end of the day, like, could I ever in real life? Like, and we were going to talk about this too, but like, there are shows and movies I can't watch because it gives me so much creepiness. And
I can't do true crime.
Oh,
like,
no,
without a doubt.
Gosh,
No.
And even like me and Jason, we were watching, not the Ted Bundy one. Who is the other really big one?
Dahmer.
Yes. Yep. Yes. And when they did that series on Netflix, we watched the first episode and I was like, I can't do this. Yep. Like, cause it's just.
Once it ventures into like real world.
Yes. But even like, like a big example that people were fascinated by is You.
Yeah.
What is his name? Joe Goldberg?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I mean, he is a stalker, serial killer. Literally. I couldn't watch that show because like the reality of what I'm saying I like in the books in real life, hard pass.
Yeah.
To where I couldn't even watch that. And like he kind of had, he had the stalker
Yeah.
serial killer vibes, the obsessiveness, the possessiveness, and I couldn't watch that. Or like Dexter. Dexter's another one. He was one that he was a serial killer, but he was vigilante justice. He only killed bad people, and it still was like, oh, this is hard for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I never like loved
It's interesting
Dexter.
then that we can read it, but we can't.
I can't watch it. I can't watch it because watching it makes it real.
Yeah.
Reading it, I'm like, okay, like this.
Yeah.
I tell myself when I'm reading this would never happen in real life.
Right.
Like, because also all of these books are romances, whereas all those shows are not.
No.
There's no romance where it's like, oh, I just love him because he's a serial killer. Like, no, that's not it. Actually, they did do that in the second season. Like,
yeah, doesn't she know that
she's a serial killer?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like, it was like the Rudeness Love trilogy. Like 2 serial killers fell in love, had a happy family, and like for fun date nights, they went on murder sprees.
And then he kills her.
Yeah, he does. But that's the thing is like, I couldn't watch that series.
I couldn't either.
Take this all with a grain of salt. Like I love my morally gray men. I'm not about it in
Real
shows or movies. Yeah. So of course I want to talk about my last one.
Your one true love.
My one true love. Why I love fan fiction so much, and I'll tell you why. So of course Draco Malfoy, my Slytherin king. No, but here's why I like fan fiction and not. I don't like him in the actual Harry Potter series. I mean, I've read like interviews and stuff where, the author knows that fan fiction exists with him and she's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like he is not a good person. And she's even said, I think before, is like, he is not a redeemable character. I meant him to be a bad guy and he's a bad guy. Yeah. Why I like fan fiction is because I love how deep people get with it, of the thought process of this guy who was raised with prejudiced views, by his 2 parents, that's all he knew. That's all he was told his whole life. And so, of course, he has a prejudice against people that don't have magic or people, and he thinks so lowly of them. Where it turns in the fan fiction is, at the pinnacle point where he has to decide, he became a Death Eater, which is, the
ultimate mark of evil.
Ultimate mark of evil, and is tasked with killing, the ultimate person of light, Dumbledore. Yeah. He can't do it in the end. And like the whole thing in the books and the movies, like he puts his wand down, y'all. Yeah. He had conflict. He had of like, I'm not that person, even though I've been raised that my whole life. Why I love the fan fiction is because 10 times out of 10, he changes his view, or he never had that view, but he was just
pretending or something.
Growing up, or that's all he knew. He was like, I didn't know. Like the thing I love most is they're like, why, when she's always like in the whichever story it is of like, why'd you hate me so much? He was like, because I was told my whole life to hate people like you, and I met you, and I was told that people like you are dumber, weaker, less powerful. And then I met you, who is smarter than me, more powerful than me. And he was
again, elevating the female.
Love it. Yep. Oh yeah, you're right. And he was like, and I knew in that moment that everything I've ever been told is wrong. And I'm like, oh, yes. That's so true. So I love that because maybe that one could happen in real life. You could be raised with like, I could see that. Prejudice views. And like, I mean, it's especially in the South, that was a big thing of like prejudice views. And it takes, having the power to stand up against those prejudice views. And that's why I love this is he does. And it proves that like, you can either succumb to being a product of your environment or you can elevate and go beyond that. And in the fan fiction, he does. It makes me sad that in the books, that's all he's relegated to. Like, he had no redeeming qualities. So he is my ultimate morally gray, even if it is fake. Even if the author never meant that, he will always be morally gray in my mind.
I was going to ask you, so you have read Manacled.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Are you planning to read her adaptation that's coming out?
Girl, I've already got it pre-ordered.
Okay.
Alchemized?
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know what but you know it. Alchemized.
Yes, Alchemized.
So I wonder if that's going to be the same thing.
It is.
Morally gray.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's going to be, so... Funny you ask. There are 3 fan fiction books that have been readapted into actual books. Alchemized,
which is real?
Yeah, I know, and they're all coming out this year, and I'm pumped. Alchemized by Sen-Lin Yu.
Yep.
Then you have Rose in Chains, which is the adaptation of The Auction.
Okay. And
Rose in Chains is written by an actual published author. I cannot remember her name right now. Like, it's not. Oh gosh, it's Julie Soto. No, not Julie Soto.
Julie Soto. You're right.
I thought I was making up that
Look
name.
at you go.
I was like, Carrie Soto, Julie Soto. She's written
the Evermore trilogy.
Yeah, the Evermore. And so she's coming out with Rose in Chains, which is the adaptation of The Auction. And then the third one is, what is it going to be called? Love. It's Demetmobile. Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love, but it's coming out as like Love and Other Enemies, or
let me see what I got.
Falling in Love with Your Enemies, or something like that. That's the one I'm most excited about, if I'm being honest.
I can't find it.
No, type what is it? I literally have it. No, we're gonna do this. Did you type in?
I typed in Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love adaptation. Couldn't find it.
What?
Falling in
Love with Your Enemies. Well, either way, I think I have it on my Goodreads. It's like want to read. That one's coming out in like August, I want to say.
The Art of Falling in Love with Your Enemy by Anne Kemp.
Yes.
Thank you, Google.
Yes. No.
Look at that.
Wait, no. Wrong one.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Backtrack.
I found it. It's called The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. So good. I can't wait. They're all coming out this year. So there's 3.
And then now you can finally rate them.
I know. Yeah. Well, because, and they are like some of these, like I think Alchemize is completely changing the premise, because of course you can't publish fan fiction. Like that's illegal because it's copyrighted material, but they're taking the thought process and just readapting it. Like I don't even think,
I'm so excited.
I know. I don't even think all of these are going to have magic in them, because a lot of that is copyrighted too. It's just more of like, so you already know, and I'm going to talk about them this year. They're all coming out this year. So that's 3 morally gray men you already know I'm going to love.
This one's about assassins.
Yeah. Well, that's what they are. And well, he's an assassin. Yeah. I can't wait. That's all I can say. I pre-ordered all of them. So I love it. So yeah, like we have a rhyme and reason to our madness. It's not like we just love serial killers. I think we love love.
We love
so
love.
Much that
and
we
like
can
protective men.
Yeah. And it's not that weird of a concept when you think about all the different movies out there that you're like, that's morally gray. And like, even action movies. I mean, when you fall in love with those characters, you're like, oh, but it's okay that he just murdered half the people because he did it to protect so-and-so. Yeah. So it's not the weirdest concept. All that to say, though, if you read these books and then you listen to us and you're like, what's wrong with her? I mean, just leave us alone. It's okay. I mean, again, meet our husbands and then see what we read and be like, okay, it doesn't translate in real life. It doesn't. And I would say a lot of people in the book talk world would agree. Like, it's not something that anyone's actively looking for. No. It's just
fun to read about.
It is.
And that's okay.
Yeah. So we love our morally gray men.
If you have morally gray men that you love, let us know.
If you have them in real life, I really want to know.
That's the story.
You're like, yeah, what's going on there? But also, again, there is a difference between morally gray and like straight up toxic. Yeah. We have read books before that like it's straight up toxic and it's not okay. Yeah. So there are lines.
Magnolia
Parks. Like I don't. In no way is that morally gray. It's just wrong.
Yep.
I don't love books where there's a difference between like witty banter and like straight up bullying. And we've talked about that before. There's books that were like, no, that's not love. Funny. Yeah. Nope, it's not love. Yes, you killed someone for her, but like in a bad way. So anyways,
there's a line.
There is a line. If you don't love morally gray men, also tell us about that, because it's like, or if you're my therapist, please turn this off. No, just kidding. I don't even have one.
You don't even have a therapist. No. This figurative therapist you referenced like a billion times.
I can't wait for the day when someone comments and they're like, here's my number. Yeah. Maybe you should call me. But until that day, I'm going to keep reading them.
Oh, gosh.
As always, I thank y'all for listening to us. We love it.
Like, subscribe, share to your friends, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.